Wow.
We all know that Blue Ivy came from a surrogate.
Yep.
They shut that hospital down like a president had just been shot.
But there are actually a lot of people that believe this rumor, and it's crazy. I guess there are some crazy celebrities in the world, so we get a bad...
Y'all, Jaguar Wright just reignited questions about that Met Gala moment, and now it's not sitting right. What looked like Beyoncé's return allegedly shifted fast, with Blue Ivy Carter placed center stage. Sources say the timing, the message, she's ready, and the reactions feel too perfect. Was it a celebration or something more calculated?
How does it feel being back?
It feels surreal because my daughter's here.
And Blue looks so good.
It looks like the deeper you go into that Met Gala night, the less it feels like a simple appearance, and the more it starts to look like a carefully staged moment. Because right after that headline-grabbing return from Beyoncé, everything began moving too perfectly. The angles, the timing, the attention, all locked onto one person. Not Beyoncé, but Blue Ivy Carter. Sources are saying the shift was immediate. What started as a celebration quickly turned into speculation because the narrative didn't stay on the comeback. It moved to something else, something newer, younger, and according to some insiders, intentionally highlighted. Because when people went back and rewatched the interviews, they noticed a pattern, a repetition, a phrase that kept coming up again and again. She's ready. And that's where things started to feel different.
Incredible. She looks so beautiful. I'm like, we can learn some red carpet tips from Blue.
Absolutely.
The way she's posing, I'm like,
She was ready.
She was ready.
Now, on the surface, that sounds like a proud mother moment, and to be clear, no one is confirming anything outright. But as Jaguar Wright and other voices began raising questions, insiders claim that when a message is repeated that clearly, on a stage that big, it's rarely accidental. And suddenly, the conversation shifted from admiration to analysis. Because this wasn't just about presence anymore. It was about positioning. Then came the second layer. Industry watchers started connecting timelines. Why now, after nearly a decade, would Beyoncé choose this exact moment to return and bring Blue Ivy Carter into one of the most controlled, high-pressure environments in fashion? According to whispers behind the scenes, this wasn't spontaneous. It was strategic. And some are pointing to something bigger, a rollout that doesn't end at the red carpet, but begins there. Then the tone shifted again. While fans praised her confidence, others noticed subtle details, the body language, the constant cameras, the weight of expectation placed on someone so young. Quietly, the narrative split. One side saw confidence. The other saw pressure. And just when that debate started building, another clip surfaced that pushed everything further.
Blue Ivy's album, okay? And I think that's why she's introducing her to things. And she keeps saying...
Now that changed everything. Because now the idea wasn't just introduction anymore, it was transition. A shift. A possible next phase. And suddenly, people weren't just watching a moment, they were watching what looked like the beginning of something much bigger. Meanwhile, voices like Taraji P. Henson had already started raising questions about the event itself, questioning the purpose, the power structures behind it, and whether everything happening on that carpet was as innocent as it seemed. And behind the scenes, even figures like Matthew Knowles are being mentioned in conversations, with some sources suggesting concern about how fast things are moving, and how early the spotlight is being handed over. But here's where it really starts to escalate. Because when you combine all of it, the timing, the messaging, the repetition, the reaction, it starts to paint a picture that some people are calling calculated. Not confirmed, but not dismissible either. And now the question isn't just what happened that night. It's why it happened that way. Because if this really was just a proud family moment, then why does it feel like something bigger is already in motion? It looks like the more this story unfolds, the harder it becomes to ignore the details people initially brushed off. Because what seemed like a controlled, elegant family appearance quickly started showing cracks. And not small ones. Noticeable ones. Sources are now saying that the red carpet moment everyone praised may have actually revealed more than intended. Because while the cameras were focused on perfection, there were subtle moments that didn't quite match the narrative being presented. Moments that felt unscripted.
Met Gala, apparently Kim had asked if North could come, and they told her no.
And suddenly the tone shifted. This wasn't just fashion anymore, it was about control. Insiders say in a space that controlled, even small off-script moments can reveal more than what's shown, and that's when questions started. Then came the next layer. As clips spread, viewers analyzed everything, frame by frame. What stood out wasn't just confidence, it was tension. Some saw a young girl in a big moment. Others weren't so sure. Meanwhile, another narrative grew. Sources claim this wasn't just one night. It was about image, positioning, and a bigger plan. because the way everything unfolded started to feel less random and more like a calculated rollout.
Now, when you saw them on the Met Gala red carpet, it was him, Blue Ivy, and Beyonce. They are really pushing this family image now.
Now that changed the tone completely. Because if this was about presenting a united front, a carefully curated image, then it wasn't just about Blue Ivy being present. It was about what that presence represents. A transition, a continuation, a legacy being quietly passed forward in real time. And that's where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. Because when you start connecting the dots, the timing of the return, the repeated messaging, the spotlight shift, the controlled environment, it begins to look less like coincidence and more like coordination. Not confirmed, but increasingly difficult to ignore. Meanwhile, public reaction is now completely split. Some are defending it as a powerful family moment, a mother sharing her world with her daughter. Others are questioning whether that world is being introduced too soon, too fast, and under too much pressure. And in the middle of all this, the silence from certain key voices is only making things louder. Because here's the part nobody can quite explain. If everything about that night was natural, then why does every detail feel so carefully placed? And if nothing was planned, then why does it all connect so perfectly? Now, the narrative isn't just about what we saw. It's about what we might have missed. And the deeper this goes, the more it feels like this story isn't unfolding by accident. It looks like by the time this story reaches its final layer, it stops being just about a moment and starts becoming about meaning. Because once the noise settles, what remains are the patterns. And right now, insiders are saying those patterns are getting harder to ignore. The messaging, the timing, the emotional framing, all of it seems to circle back to one idea: legacy.
Is there one piece of art that has changed your life?
I would say my children.
Your children?
Yes.
One more time?
And that's where the tone shifts again. Because now this isn't just about a public appearance, it's about how that appearance is being framed to the world. When statements like that are placed into a moment this visible, some believe it's not just emotional, it's intentional. And suddenly, everything starts to feel heavier. Sources claim that what people witnessed that night might have been more than just visibility. It might have been introduction, a signal, a quiet transition happening in plain sight. Because when you look at the structure of that night, who was centered, who was highlighted, who the cameras kept returning to, it starts to tell its own story. And it's not the one everyone expected. Then comes the part that's making even long-time observers pause. Because while some are still calling it a proud moment, others are asking why the language surrounding it feels so consistent, so repeated, so prepared. And when a narrative is repeated often enough, people start to question where it began and who's shaping it.
Blue is ready. I think she's more ready than we think she is for a lot of things.
Now that pushed the conversation into a completely different space. Because now it's no longer just about presence. It's about readiness. And not the kind that comes naturally over time, but the kind that feels like it's being accelerated. Insiders are now suggesting that what we're watching might be the early stages of something much bigger, a long-term positioning strategy that doesn't rely on one moment, but builds across many. And if that's true, then that Met Gala appearance wasn't the peak. It was the beginning. But here's where it gets complicated. Because for every person questioning it, there's another defending it. Saying this is what legacy looks like. Saying this is how doors are opened. Saying this is power being passed down, not forced. And yet, the questions aren't going away. If everything is organic, why does it feel so structured? If this is just a family sharing a moment, why does it look like a rollout? And if this is truly her choice, why does the spotlight seem so perfectly timed? Because at the center of all of this is someone the world is watching more closely than ever before. And whether this is empowerment or expectation is something nobody can fully agree on. Now, the narrative has moved beyond that night. It's no longer about what happened. It's about what it means. And more importantly, what comes next. Because if this really is the start of something, then the real story hasn't even begun yet. Now, the narrative isn't fading, it's sharpening. What looked like a moment around Beyoncé and Blue Ivy Carter is allegedly turning into something bigger. And if insiders are even partly right, this may only be the beginning. So watch closely, because the next move could explain everything.